Welcome to Kitchen Chat. This is where we sample the talents of the most notorious chefs, home cooks, foodies, and celebrities that sizzle. Get ready for a culinary journey that you won't find anywhere else. Here's the host of Kitchen Chat, Margaret McSweeney.
Welcome to a special series of Kitchen Chat, a taste of luxury, history, and hospitality. This is your host, Margaret McSweeney, and I'm so glad you're joining me on this delicious journey. Today, let's have a kitchen chat with the legendary Nigel Barker, the photographer on America's Next Top Model. He was the MC at a recent fashion show in Chicago that benefited Wings. I serve on the Leadership Advisory Board for Wings, whose mission is to provide housing, integrated services, education, and advocacy to end domestic violence. Nigel recently launched an Espresso Martini brand and shares some fun stories about the history of Espresso Martini and its tie to fashion. So let's welcome Nigel Barker to Kitchen Chat.
Thank you very much. I was going to say welcome to the runway right now. We're actually sitting front row at a runway show, so it couldn't be more apropos to be interviewing me at a fashion show before the show begins. Well, I've launched an Espresso Martini brand, so I'm obviously known for fashion, and I'm known for being a photographer in the entertainment industry, but the Espresso Martini has become the most fashionable cocktail in the world. Right now, it is the #2 most ordered cocktail by either a man or a woman anywhere in the United States. That's just happened as of about 3 weeks ago. And it is actually driven by women it is the #1 cocktail ordered by the ladies. So thanks, ladies, because you've made my drink very successful. Driven because I think, first of all, everyone loves coffee, yes. Right? It's a universal drink. It's been around for thousands of years. And the Espresso Martini has its roots in the legend, has it that a supermodel walked into a bar in London in the early 90s rather, and asked for a cocktail that would wake her up and mess her up. And the bartender created the first Espresso Martini, using the coffee to wake her up and the vodka to mess her up. And the rest is history, if you like. Now, it kind of died down for a while there, but as of the past 5-6 years, it's gained popularity. And what we've done is, over the past 2 years, have created a recipe which has basically done all the work for you. It's kind of a complicated drink to make. You have to be a barista and a bartender normally. You have to pull an espresso shot, you have to have vodka, you have to have coffee liqueur, you have to have all the different ingredients. And coffee's very fickle, difficult to work with. It settles, it sours. We went through over 77 coffees before we settled on an 100% Colombian espresso coffee using an Arabica bean. We use a vodka that we distill ourselves. It's corn-based in Lansdale, Pennsylvania, and we distill it 6 times, which means that it's very smooth, because every time it goes through the distillation process, it gets a little bit smoother. The edges are taken off, and it's not that sharp vodka that you get. It's very smooth, and caramelized brown sugar. So we have 3 ingredients, and it's all natural, vegan, gluten-free, and you simply have to shake it, and here I have a bottle down here, shake it on ice in a shaker, and you're ready to go, and it will create a perfect Espresso Martini.
Oh, I love this. As you bring the luxury experience from haute couture to haute martini espresso. And
love that. I may have to steal that.
Please do. And you are working with a legend, with Philippe Roederer.
Yeah, he's my partner, spirits aficionado. He's actually one of the VPs who brought over Veuve Clicquot to the United States in the early 90s when it was an unknown brand. And it's hard to imagine Veuve Clicquot being an unknown brand. Heard about it. And so he launched it and made it into one of the biggest brands in the world. He was also the former CEO and one of the people who founded Voss Water, which, if any of you are familiar with that, fabulous water in the glass bottles, way ahead of its time when people, were still drinking water in plastic all all the time. You know, they produced these glass bottles and it did incredibly well. And so this is his latest project, my latest project. He has the business acumen and the know-how from the spirits world. I bring marketing, entertainment, fashion, and you know, our worlds come together, and we've created the Barker Company, and we launched all of 7 months ago, and now we're in 20 states around the United States. We'll be nationwide by the middle of next year, and we'll go international end of this year. And we just launched our cappuccino martini in 6 of our markets, which is a first to market. So that's a dairy version, and we use a Wisconsin cream to create that dairy liqueur.
I asked Nigel about his views on hospitality and how he defines it.
Hospitality is something which I think is normally taught to us by our parents first and foremost, right? It's, you know, I bet many of us when we were kids, you know, you'd go shopping with your mum and she'd come back from the grocery shop and she'd, you know, be unpacking the groceries and she'd tell everybody, and by the way, everyone, this is not for you. This is for our guests who are coming. You know, don't touch this, right? So when you put it in the fridge, just in case you get hungry, remember that's not for you. You know, that's part of hospitality. It's about the thought that, you know, or that you're caring for someone else, that you're looking after someone else. There is almost nothing more luxurious than being pampered, right? And that's what hospitality is about. Hospitality is when you walk into a restaurant, they know your name, they know your what you like to eat, they know where you like to sit. You know, if you go to your hairdresser, they know how you like to have your hair cut. They know all the different things about you. That's a luxury, and that's all hospitality. That's all a part of it. You know, even in fashion, you go into a shop, you know, when they know your size and they remember you, you like that. You like that personal feeling. That's someone who's being very hospitable and they understand what you're about. So there's a large part of, you know, the true luxuries of life are being pampered and being spoiled. And that's really the essence of true hospitality.
Have you ever wondered why the bartender puts 3 espresso beans on top of an espresso martini? Well, Nigel Barker will solve the mystery for you.
Story behind the 3 espresso beans. There's a few different stories. And so I had a podcast prior to, you know, all of this called the Shaken and Stirred Show, which we did for 135 episodes, which was all about the legends, myths, and stories behind cocktails. 3 beans on the top stand for health, wealth, and happiness. But there are another story that stands for the informer, the police officer, and the watch out. Right? And that's an Italian story. Now, you can pick which one you like better. I think I like the latter, but anyway.
I asked Nigel if he enjoys cooking. I think you will love what he has to say.
Yeah, we cook all the time together. I mean, you know, I tend to be, I'm always on the road, so I come back and I like to do that kind of big meal, over-the-top cooking. You know, so my wife and I, we always laugh about it because she really does the majority of the sort of everyday cooking. You know, she's making breakfasts, lunches, kids' meals, all the stuff, like all the time during the week. And she's always busy. And I tend to sort of come in and be like, oh, what's for dinner kind of thing. But then what happens on the weekend is that I'm like, oh, okay, it's Saturday night. I'll go, you know, and what I want to make a curry, or I'll, you know, multiple dishes, and I'll open a bottle of wine, and the whole thing is a palaver, and I turn the kitchen upside down, you know, and it's like 1,000 pots, and my wife's like, do you have to use every pot and pan in the entire kitchen, you know? But that's the sort of the difference between the two of us. You know, as far as a tip for cooking, though, you know, I love to make things colourful. I like to make things picturesque. Again, perhaps it's the photographer in me, it's the creative in me. You know, the whole process, the look, the feel, and the vibe. That's one of the reasons why I love curries, because of all the colours and the smells and the spices. And so it's like, you know, it's so sensual and it's such a visual treat. So that for me, remembering the colours, even when my wife jokes sometimes, I'll make a salad or something once in a while, and even if I lay it out, it's how I put the plate together. It's the sort of the placement of the plate, yes. You know. And I'm like, and you know, and it's so important for me, like how the tomatoes are cut and look, and the whole 9 yards. Sort of, I don't just sort of go plunk, you know.
When I asked Nigel if he has any tips for photography and making us all look tall and skinny, here is his answer.
How can I make you look skinny and tall with a camera? Well, you know, I'm a photographer, not a magician, but you know, the reality is that I think it has more to do with being confident in who you are. And you know, a good photographer, obviously they know your angles and they kind of, you know the best places for the camera. But I always say, look, you know, there's no correct right shape or good-looking shape or physique or whatever. when someone looks amazing, they look amazing because they feel amazing. And that's the main thing. I can have someone who is sort of visually stunning stand in front of my camera and actually not take a very good picture.
Wow.
Because they're not feeling it. They're not feeling comfortable, they're not feeling confident, they don't have that, chutzpah. And then somebody else who perhaps on paper you may think, oh, well, what's special about them? But when they're in front of the camera or just in general, they shine. They're radiant and they are full of life and they are energetic and that is sexy, that is beautiful, that is, you want to be around those people. Yes. And that's essentially what happens in a great photograph. And that's why you love somebody. And sometimes people are like, how did that person become a supermodel? I don't get it. I don't even think she's attractive. And you're like, well, because she has that. She has that je ne sais quoi, or that person has that. Like, why does a certain actor become a star? They're all different heights, sizes. We come in every shape and form, and we love actors who perform and can embody a character so well, and that's because of their personality and their skill and their talent. That's what you fall in love with, and that's why you appreciate someone. That's all the rest of it comes and goes. So again, even in photography, even as that's what it captures the essence of, and any great portrait photographer will tell you the same. I actually did photograph all the photographs from our Espresso, and I'll give you some clips that you can play show all about it. But yeah, absolutely. Look, everything, even my bottle, I tried to make this look as beautiful as possible. This is Italian glass, and we imported it's 97% UV proof, but we wanted something that would look very elegant, classic, and stylish. Look, when it comes to taking photographs. And I say this to people all the time, actually. People constantly sending me their pictures and saying, what do you think? What do you think? To be a true artist, you have to not care what anybody else thinks. It's your art, it's your photograph. The question isn't whether I like it. The question is whether you like it. And if you like it, then you've done the right thing. If I like it, does it matter to you? Maybe it does, but it shouldn't. And you can imagine, any of the artists in this room who created any of this art at 21C Hotels, which is where we're at right now, they don't ask someone, should I put my paintbrush down now? They just put their paintbrush down when they're done. Yes. So remember that, and know that having your own signature when it comes to taking pictures, when it comes to cooking, when it comes to doing anything creative, that's your signature. That's how you do it, and you should be proud of the way you do it.
Thank you so much, Nigel, for being on Kitchen Chat. I love his wisdom about finding your signature. This is a great way to pursue your passion and purpose in life. Please visit barkermartinis.com for more information about his products. Remember to always drink responsibly and only if you're 21 and older. Many thanks to Wings for all that you do to help end domestic violence. Please visit wingsprogram.com for more information. And thank you, dear foodie friends, for being a special part of this journey. Please visit kitchenchat.info and follow Kitchen Chat on Instagram, where you'll find inspiration for your next delicious destination. And always remember to take a moment and savor the day and savor the sip.